Remember that time Jets fans celebrated the fact that Aaron Rodgers was their quarterback and was going to be able to recruit and lure top free agents from all over the NFL? I do. I'm Glenn Naughton with Jet Nation Radio and JetNation.com. Be sure to log into JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web. Been away for a little while. Well, not away. I've been here. I've been home. But very busy. We haven't done a show in, I don't know, a week and a half, maybe two. So we're going to drop this one now just to talk a little bit about the impact the quarterback situation is going to have on this team in the coming weeks and months. And then Dylan and I tomorrow night with a mock draft. We were going to do one pre-combine, but those are fun. Like, it's always fun to do a mock, but really, there is not a time in the offseason where you know less about everything. You don't know who's going to test well and move up draft boards. And even when you do, you don't know who your team is taking. And you don't know what needs they're going to be addressing come draft time. Like, let's get some combine results in at least. And then, of course, as free agency kicks off and names get added to the roster, there will be more to discuss. There will be a bit more clarity as far as that goes. But the Jets right now, and there will be Jets fans who get mad at me for this, and I don't care. A lot of folks, I mean, nobody's doing backflips. Nobody's over the moon. But a lot of people, surprisingly, a surprising number of people seem pretty okay with Tyrod Taylor as the team's starting quarterback, if that were to happen. And even, listen, even if it's a rookie, let's say it's Tyrod. Let's say it's not. Let's say it's Jackson Dart. Let's say it's Quinn Ewers. Let's say it's Cam Ward. Any of these guys. You're Darren Muji. You're still trying to lure free agents to come play for you for a team not exactly the apple of everyone's eye right now. For those of you who missed it, former Viking Hall of Famer Jared Allen. And listen, I get people don't care. I get Jared Allen has some DUIs. Doesn't mean what he said isn't true. And it doesn't mean there's not a reason behind it, right? So Jared Allen was talking to the media the other day and was just having a little fun and talking about how he enjoys being retired because now he can say whatever he wants. I mean, we know, right? We watch players lie all the time. You know, they blow a team out 41-3. Oh, yeah, they were real competitive today. It's a tough team. You know, tip your cap to them. Come on. And Jared Allen was like making the point that, look, you know, for teams that are no good, like who, and he just kind of, he was off the cuff. He's like, who sucks right now? The Jets. The Jets. Can you imagine being the Jets? I can't believe anybody took that job. How we doing? ATN Wild Wave, how we doing, guys? So Jared Allen, like that's where the Jets are right now. Like, some teams are hoping to make the postseason. Some teams are hoping to make the Super Bowl. Some teams are hoping to just improve and be around 500. The Jets, like, just be good enough that you're not the first team that comes to mind when a Hall of Famer is trying to think of a team that sucks. That's where they are. Again, quarterback situation's unsettled. You're Darren Muji. You got to go out there and try to lure some free agent receivers here because the Jets receiver room, and I get it. The draft is coming. Free agency's coming. Nobody's playing tomorrow. Rosters aren't set. I get that. But you can get to a point where things get a little bit dangerously thin. And that's where the Jets are right now at wide receiver. Why? Devontae Adams gone. As expected, he was due to make $1 trillion. They had to cut him. And Devontae did that on purpose. He intentionally did not restructure that portion of his deal because he wanted to know the Jets couldn't afford to keep him if Aaron Rodgers left. So he knew there was a good chance he wasn't staying beyond a year. The Jets had to know that, but they still gave up a top 100 pick for 11 games. So Devontae's gone. You've given Allen Lazard a chance to, or permission to seek a trade. And I get that Allen Lazard isn't very good. The drops are infuriating. But he wasn't terrible last year. I guess put it this way. Here's a way to look at it. Who's on the Jets roster other than Garrett Wilson who's better than Allen Lazard at wide receiver? Say he sucks all you want, but you're getting worse once he goes. Malachi Corley, we can all hope and pray, and I know I am, that this was terrible coaching and that's why he was invisible. I mean, this is a guy that, Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas are sharing with the media. Here's our draft day tweets. Malachi Corley, no matter what, we got to get this guy. and then he can't get on the field. Like, and then they let him run a play, clear path to the end zone, and he drops the ball on the 1-inch line because he can't wait to celebrate. Had to do it right then and there. So you've got Garrett Wilson. Once Lazard is gone, now the Jets did say they're amicable to keeping him around. I find that hard to believe. I mean, I guess there is some possibility, again, given the lack of depth they have at their position. If things don't go as they hope in free agency and the draft, maybe he hangs around. But I'm gonna assume they move on from him. I doubt you'll get anything in trade. Although I will say, for his salary, the way price, what receivers cost, he would be a bargain. Like a team that really needs a 4th or 5th receiver, if you gave up a 6 or a 7 for Lazard, you could kind of do worse than that. I mean, I know we dog him and say he's the worst receiver on the planet. Listen, too many drops. There's no getting around that. But I think that I think at best you're getting a late day 3 pick, but I don't think he's back. So realistically, the Jets will have Garrett Wilson and nothing behind him. Oh, but don't worry, Glenn. It's free agency. They'll go sign some free agents. Lots of free agent receivers. Let's be honest with ourselves here. We're Jets fans. Free agents aren't Jets fans. They're guys who play this game for a living. They're going to go to a place where they can make a little money. Of course, everybody wants money. But if the guys the Jets target are any good at all, they're going to have multiple suitors. Now, how many teams have a worse situation than the Jets? If all other things are equal. If you're a middle of the road or upper, lower tier 1, upper tier 2 receiver, above average player, and you've got 5 or 6 offers, how many teams are going to have an unsettled quarterback situation, a rookie coordinator, a QB coach on his 4th team in 5 years, for a team with a 14-year playoff drought, an owner who's being universally mocked, a team that's being universally mocked? What's the draw? You can pay the Jets tax. You can take a guy who's worth $8-9 million a year and offer him 14 or 15, grossly overpay. Charles said should have kept Davante. Couldn't. Charles, $38 million, 28, whatever it was. But Davante structured. He intentionally, when he got here, I believe it was Samini who reported, Davante was willing to rework last year's portion of his deal. He left this year's in place because he knew the Jets couldn't afford it. And if Aaron Rodgers left, then he could go. If Aaron Rodgers stayed, maybe he would have reworked it and stayed. But they could not pay Davante Adams that much money. He knew it. The Jets knew it. That's why Davante left it. Jets couldn't do anything about that. They took a swing with Davante, a huge swing, a huge miss. And you threw away a draft pick. You threw away a top 100 pick. And I've talked to people about this, because I said this is one of the deals that Woody Johnson forced. And you've basically, and people say, oh, Glenn, that's revisionist history. Everybody wanted Davante. Everyone was excited. I was excited. I'm not going to lie. Woody Johnson's the owner. Woody Johnson has access to information we don't. And what was it, week 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that ballpark, where insider Jay Glazer began reporting, pardon my dog, Jay Glazer reported that Aaron Rodgers was dealing with multiple injuries. And Rodgers, now, it's important sometimes, because Rodgers didn't deny any of it. Rodgers criticized Glazer, saying, what does Jay Glazer know about me? There haven't even been tests done. Okay, I gotcha. Maybe Jay Glazer's reporting about the severity of the injuries is wrong, but there were clearly some injuries. If you're saying no tests have been done, well, if you're not injured, tests aren't necessary. But if the option to have them done was given, and whether you had it or not, there were some injuries. And Glazer listed like 2, 3, 4 injuries that Rodgers was dealing with early in the year. So if you're Woody Johnson, I don't know that. Dylan Terraman doesn't know that. We can look at Rodgers, and we said there was a time where we were like, something's not right here. Why isn't he throwing the ball down the field? Every throw is within 10, 15 yards of the line of scrimmage for multiple weeks. Something's going on here. Something feels fishy. But we don't know. Woody Johnson knew. Woody Johnson is the owner. So he knows that this is hurt, that's hurt. He knows his 40-something-year-old quarterback is falling apart, and the team is 2-4. That's when you say, you know what? We swung and missed. The season's over. Look at your schedule. How many teams are you beating with a beaten-up quarterback and a struggling defense? Now, as fans, not knowing the number of injuries he's dealing with, that Rodgers, you're thinking, oh, well, he's not playing great, but maybe he's, getting a feel for the building the chemistry with the guys around him and getting comfortable. But, and I remember saying, like, at some point he's got to break out, right? Like week 7, week 6, he's going to, kind of start lighting it up. And that's when they make the deal, and you're like, okay, great. Maybe they go on a run here. Maybe they win 7-8 in a row because Davante's back and Rodgers is healthy and they're going to be fine. No, Rodgers wasn't healthy. And that's why they still struggled. And of course, we don't have to go too in depth on the kicker situation. ATN says kicker on the 6. So Woody gives up the pick. Woody gives up the 3. Nobody else would. I mean, Davante was on the trade block for several weeks. Everybody knew this, widely reported. He was faking the injury in Vegas. Vegas was pretending he was hurt. He was pretending he was hurt. And they were just waiting for the trade offers to come in. And everybody said the Raiders were waiting for, 3 that Woody ended up giving up. Nobody was offering it. So Woody says, no, we'll do it. Give him a 3. There's 11 games left in the season. The quarterback's beaten up. Let's give him a 3rd-round pick. So now that's gone. So that's gone. Davante's gone. Jomo says in the chat, do you see us going after Olave or Goodwin from Tampa? I love both those guys. Fantastic players. I would think Goodwin's a little older, but at the same time, he's a guy who he's a guy he's a great player, but he's coming off of a horrific injury and he's inching up on 30 years old. I wanted that dude out of Penn State. Loved him. And he's been a fantastic pro. And if he's fully recovered and they think he can make a full comeback from that injury, I'd bring him in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Olave, different story, great player, but you're gonna have to give up picks. To me, give me the free agent who can contribute over the trade any day. And I know that people say that does Olave also help Garrett Wilson's situation? If Garrett Wilson's unhappy, remains to be seen. Listen, there was a report the other day, Zach Rosenblatt, that Garrett Wilson is amicable to staying and amicable to a new deal. I'm not going to lie. If that's true, if that report is accurate, that is shocking to me. It's a weird thing, right? Because here I'm a Jets fan. I want them to win. I want them to be better. I want Garrett Wilson to sign a 6-year contract. But then there's that part of me that's like, what the hell? Why would he stay here? For what? You're multiple years away from having a quality quarterback. You can demand a trade, and people can say all they want. You don't have to trade. I get that. You don't have to trade guys. But as I always say, you didn't have to trade Jamal Adams, who was at the time before he physically broke down, overrated player, but still very good in some. Still a guy you could contribute and be a really good player. You didn't have to trade him, but you did because he demanded it and he made a stink and you made a deal. So Garrett Wilson could have taken that same route. We'll see what happens. If he's amicable to staying and he does stay, fantastic. Like I said, give him a 6-year deal. Love Garrett Wilson. But right now he's the only receiver on the roster that you can count on. Well, again, based on that report the other day, that you can count on him to be on the field next year. And outside of that, you're Darren Muji trying to lure free agents to a team that, and listen, I've said it a million times. If you've not heard me talk about it before, I was a big Tyrod Taylor guy a few years ago. Like Tyrod Taylor as a pro, comes across as in terms of like the way he leads. He's a respected guy, and you hear that now. People in the building like him. I like him. I just don't like the injury history. And when you have an injury history that extensive, it's crazy to me to say, yeah, we might go with this guy as our starter. And you can say they're bluffing, but I don't think they are, because what are the options? If you don't trade up to 1, you're not getting Cam Ward. And look, you can want to trade up to 1, but if you're the Titans, who would you rather trade with? The Jets and drop down to 7? Or a team at 3 or 4? Where you can only move down 1 or 2 spots and still get the guy you want and add it. You move down to 7, you're not getting your favorite guy. You move down to 3, you're getting more picks and your favorite guy. If I'm the Titans, so in that case, if you're the Jets, now you got to blow me out of the water. Because, the Giants or whoever behind us, they're offering us to move back 2, 3 spots. If you want us to move back 5, our guy's going to be gone. We're going to need another 1, maybe another 2 or 3, something. You have to pile it on. So now you're getting into giving up multiple years of multiple premium picks for an unproven quarterback. And look, nobody was a bigger Cam Ward guy than I was. Nobody was on the Cam Ward train before I was. My Cam Ward tweets go back a couple of years when he was, still at Washington State, lighting it up there. So it's not a great situation if you're trying to convince free agents to come here, because even if you draft a quarterback, if there's a veteran receiver who you like, and maybe it's a guy who hasn't won before and he wants to win, and you got to convince him, hey, mate, come here, this rookie's going to be whatever. It's like, come on, maybe a second year guy, like a vet's got to see something, right? Like if the Commanders wanted to sign a free agent right now, free agent receiver, hell yeah, free agent receiver's going to go there. They've seen this kid can play. They've seen that Daniels can play. They'll be coming here and they'll either be playing with Tyrod Taylor or a guy who's never played a snap in the NFL. And you got to convince these guys that they're going to be good, and that you've got it right this time. Shedeur, let's talk about that for a minute. Talk about his attitude. Reportedly, it sounded like Josina Anderson was talking about the Jets. It sounded like it. Only because she was very specific. If you missed it, Josina Anderson sent out a tweet saying that a team didn't like Shedeur, thought he was I forget the term she used. He wasn't taking the interview seriously at the combine for some of these teams. Now, generally, if you don't want to reveal the team, you kind of round up, if it's a team picking at 6 or 7 or 8, you say, oh, let's talk to some people, and there's a team in the top 10 that doesn't like him. Okay. Josina Anderson said a team in the top 7. I mean, that's really specific. That's very specific. The Jets are at 7. So, but is it a smokescreen? Right? Because we see this. We see teams trash guys and try to knock them down other draft boards and hope that they'll fall to them. Maybe that's the move. But here's the reason I don't see Shedeur being a target for the Jets. And I'm not even saying it's not like they're going to consider him like they would any top quarterback in the class. But Cam Ward, I think they'd be all in. I think if they can get Cam Ward, they'd jump on it. 2 things we've heard about Aaron Glenn. Well, 3 really, if you take Aaron Glenn saying he wants a winner, right? I mean, that's pretty broad. There's some quarterback like Tim Tebow was a winner, and he could run. Those are the 2 things Aaron Glenn's supposedly prioritizing, right? Aaron Glenn wants a guy who can run and a guy who wins. And again, being from the Parcells tree, right? What was one of the things Parcells always said about quarterbacks? I don't want a celebrity quarterback. I want a team guy, and that was part of that's what we were hearing. That's why they parted ways with Aaron Rodgers. Oh, we don't want somebody who's bigger than the team. We want him to be part of not. We don't want it to be 1 + 52. We want it to be 53. So we don't want a celebrity, and we want a guy who can run. Shedeur can't run. I don't know if you're aware of that. For those, I don't know how much of him you've watched. And he's a celebrity, which is fine. He's a rich kid, rich dad, all world father in the spotlight for several years now. He's dealt with it great in terms of his performance. Hasn't backed down. Guy got his head kicked in at Colorado behind a terrible offensive line. Got up every time. Like, admirable traits, without a doubt, on the field. Off the field, though, is he that celebrity? I mean, he's, I know he's got a podcast. I don't know how well it does. I don't know if he does an episode a month, a day, a week. I don't know how that all goes. But he's definitely a celebrity guy. He's a big name. His father is one of the greatest of all time. So it would just seem weird to me to see, okay, what do the Jets want? They want a quarterback who can run. They want a guy who's not a celebrity. Now, winner. I mean, listen, Colorado. You can talk about how. Here's the criticism I don't like of Shedeur. When I hear people say, 0-5, 0-6 against top teams. Okay, I get that. But let's add a little context. Colorado was a 1-win team before he got there. Right? Him and his father show up with Travis Hunter. They tell everyone to jump in the portal. Everybody leaves. Prime brings in his guys. And they're winning, what, 6, 7, 8 games, whatever it was. By year 2, would they win 4 or 5 games in year 1? I don't know the records off the top of my head because it's honestly not something I'm not concerned with. I just know they improved dramatically with Shedeur. So you can say, oh, he didn't win anything. Yeah, but look where he brought them, from where they were to where they went within 2 years. Much, much better results on the field. There are questions about him. He holds on to the ball too long. I get that. Every prospect has questions. I love Cam Ward. Cam Ward's got questions. One of the I mentioned a couple weeks ago, Rick Spielman, the one he wants to know is, why'd you quit on your team the final game? Like, Spielman didn't like that at all. It bothered him a lot. But at the same time, I think Spielman knows it's not going to hurt his draft stock. Just kind of a thing. He's like, oh, I want to know why that kid, you were there, you were suited up, you played the first half. And then you just decide you're not going to play anymore. And I get where that would rub some people the wrong way, especially Spielman's an old school guy. The new version of the modern athlete is like, play well enough to make money and get off the field to avoid an injury before those checks start rolling in. And you don't have to like it, but that's the reality of where college football is right now. I think McCaffrey was the first guy to do it, first guy to declare himself, I'm not playing in a bowl game because I want to protect my paycheck. Draft position and then therefore paycheck. So it's a thing now, whether we like it or not. But it's, Spielman's issue was, this is worse than any of that because you were there, you came out, you suited up, you played, and then you just quit. So there will be questions, concerns about every guy, every quarterback in this draft. But in terms of if you're the New York Jets and you're trying to convince a quality receiver to come here, they're going to have some questions, and I'm not so sure that they're going to like the answers. Unless one of the questions is, how much more are you going to pay me than every other team? And the answer is going to be, double or something ridiculous like that. So bidding wars are going to be tough to win if you're competing against teams that have a better situation than you. And I would argue again, and people have disagreed with me, and that's fine, but I would argue the Jets have one of the worst situations. You don't have a proven QB coach. You don't have a listen, and I feel better about the OC than the QB coach, because at least with the OC there's an unknown. QB coach, 4 jobs in 5 years. That's not the best sign. Didn't play the position, not the best sign. Only been coaching the position for a couple of years, not the best sign. There's a lot of things to not like about that. And if he's the one, well, let's not get into who's leaking the stuff that Josina Anderson is getting, whoever it might be. It doesn't matter. But it did sound an awful lot like it was coming from the Jets. But so as we said, Devontae's gone. Lazard likely to be gone. You're gonna be thin there. Tight end. I mean, draft one. Draft 2. I keep saying edge, DT, tight end, draft 2 of those guys. I mean, not all 3 positions, but 1 or 2. There you go. Wild Wave jumped in, brash and arrogant. Those were the terms. Like I said, I think I said they got the impression he wasn't interested in the interviews. And listen, his father is prime. If you're my age, or even, you don't even have to be my age because everything gets replayed nowadays. His father showed up to the combine. He walked into interview with the Giants, who were picking like 10th or whatever it was. They handed him the psychological evaluation this legendary psychological evaluation that's 1 billion pages long, and they handed it to Prime and told him to fill it out. And he said, "When do you guys pick again?" And they said whatever it was, and he was like, "Oh, I'll be gone by then." And he walked out and left. So, wow, how shocking would it be if his son was blowing off interviews with teams he didn't want to play for? And that could be it. Listen, maybe the Jets, someone in that room, someone in that building is like, man, that guy really was cocky, or he didn't really seem like he was that into this. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he went in there and thought, okay, I better perform in such a way that this team will want nothing to do with me because I want nothing to do with them. So let's sort that out now. and go in there and be brash and cocky and blow guys off or whatever. Don't, half answers, mutter, leave them saying, man, that guy really doesn't have it. Yeah. By it, I don't have the desire to play for you. So that could be it. Maybe when Shedeur's in these interviews with the teams he wants to play for, maybe it's a different story. We don't know. We're not in that room. But like I said, I thought saying top 7 was awfully specific. Tomorrow night, Dylan Terraman and myself, we will talk about, not talk about, we will do, we'll do a mock 1.0. As I always say, we only do 2 or 3 a year. We don't do 1,000 mocks. Try to make it a good one. Probably won't have any trades. And then probably the day after that, I'll do a solo and we'll go a little bit more, or we will go in depth on some of the Jets free agency options. It's not a great class. Darnold doesn't get tagged. He's not coming back to the Jets. There's no way, unless 31 other teams don't want him. Just don't see it. Oh, Rob, thank you. I was literally about to jump on the Jordan Travis thing, and you throw a comment in here. What a wild situation that is. So Rob says, hi, Glenn. I heard where the training staff fumbled Jordan Travis's rehab. Have you guys heard any details or specifics? Unfortunately, why are we really not surprised by this news? Not surprised by the news because this is what the Jets do. Mekhi Becton blamed them. Kelechi Osemele blamed them. There have been some others in the not-too-distant past where the Jets have been sort of pointed at as the reason why guys are getting injured. So Jordan Travis, his agent, and this stuff like this doesn't happen without the agent giving the player a heads up. Like, okay, you're a 5th-round pick. You're an older guy. You're coming off a major injury. You didn't take a single snap last year. But I'm going to go ahead and throw you in the fire here. And I'm going to go public and say that you got hurt last year and it was the Jets' fault. And if you remember, some folks have asked me in recent weeks or months, the latest on Travis. And I would say all we heard about Jordan Travis all year was very late in the year, like week 13, 14, somewhere in there. And Jeff Ulbrich was asked about him, and he said he had a setback. Now, that was it. He didn't say same injury. He didn't say severity. He didn't say how. Just said he had a setback. Didn't say who was at fault. So Jordan Travis's agent comes out the other day and tells Rich Cimini. Rich Cimini reported it. I believe that's who he spoke to. Said the Jets messed up Travis's rehab. He got re-injured, and it was the Jets' fault because they were trying to rush him to get him on the field. Now, some people are saying it must be a lie because everyone knows the Jets weren't going to play him and it was going to be a redshirt year. This is BS. I think, and it may have said it in the quote, I forget, but I could see a world where the Jets wanted him to at least get some practice reps. To say, hey, let's get this kid healthy so the last 3-4 weeks of the year we can let him run some live stuff in practice and just get his feet wet and get a look at what an NFL defense looks like, even if it is scaled back practice situation. So I think it could have been a situation where they were trying to get him on the practice field, not necessarily on the field as in a game. So I can see that being realistic, and I can see the Jets having botched it because the Jets do that a lot. It's kind of their thing. And Matthew says Cam Ward or bust. Wild Wave knows. As I said, listen. I think if you go on the forums at Jet Nation, I started a thread on there 2.5 years ago, just saying Washington State prospects because I was watching a lot of them. Because again, anyone who's been following us for any length of time, I loved Dan Henley. He was one of my favorite players in the class. So I'm watching tons of Washington State, and as I'm watching them, I'm like, man, this quarterback is good. This kid can play. And like this guy Maui Goa, the linebacker, pretty good player. Who else? The wide receiver, Kelly, who is at Texas Tech now. He was playing really well. They had Hicks, the safety, who I said I would have liked the Jets to take last year. I believe he went either super late or undrafted. I think he went super late. Because now I'm confusing with because I like Bo Braid and I liked Hicks. One went to KC, one went to Baltimore. I think Hicks went to Baltimore and Braid went to KC, but either way, there were a lot of Washington State guys, and I started a thread on Jet Nation. I'm like, hey, look at these. I think Washington State has like 6, 7, 8 guys who are going to be in the NFL. And Brennan, the edge rusher, was another one. Talked to him briefly in Mobile last year. Forget where he landed this year. Not sure. No, he did play. I forget. I looked it up. He played for somebody. I'll have to take a second look at that. But you had Cam Ward, you had Maui Goa, you had Brennan, you had Hicks, you had Dan Henley, Evan Williams, who transferred to Oregon and played really well there. I'd mentioned him in a couple of tweets. Instinctive guy, always around the ball. They had a running back whose name escapes me right now. Not Hicks. I forget. Think he landed in the league somewhere. So Washington. Basically, what I'm saying is, I was on not just the Cam Moore. I was on the Washington State bandwagon 2 years ago because there were so many guys. As I was watching the team, I was like, "There's a lot of NFL talent on this roster." DK Metcalf, the Time asks. For those of you unaware, DK Metcalf has demanded a trade. Listen, look into it, sure, but wide receivers are just perennially. God, I lost the word. Perennially, like some of the unhappiest millionaires on the planet. I tweeted that a few minutes ago. There's always a handful of wide receivers who are making 10, 15, 20 million a year who are like, I'm not happy here. I want to leave. I want to go. There can't be another position that demands trades as often as wide receivers do. That doesn't matter how much they're making. Odell years ago with the Giants. I want $1 billion. The Giants like, here's $1 billion. 8 months later, I hate it here. I want to go. Get me out of this place. Wide receivers are weird. Anyway, we'll wrap that up. Receivers are weird. Jets still need a bunch of them. Free agency just around the corner. NFL draft. Perennially. Yeah, I got there in the end, didn't I, Jomo? I was like perennially. Yeah, but perennially. It's weird how that happens. You ever have that? Like a word just escapes you and you're saying it in your head and you're like, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, got there in the end. Hopefully the Jets do the same. Enter free agency, get in the draft, and build a damn team that can compete and get there in the end. Have a good one, Jets fans. Perennially.